Oh well, hello there. I'm Sheetal and welcome to another extremely overdue wrap-up video. Yes, I am completely aware that we are well into April, more than midway through actually, and I did contemplate on just leaving this video and just doing my March and April wrap-up together, but I don't want to do that there's a few reasons. My first being I just want to stay accountable. I don't want to be playing catch up, which I guess I kind of am at the moment. But I've also been kind of reviewing my previous videos. I haven't actually watched them. I get a bit cringed about that. But I've seen snippets of the previous ones. And first of all, I think my very last video, I don't know what happened with colours in that, and I do apologise if you did watch it and if you got through it. I understand it must have been very visually difficult to watch, so I'm sorry about that. I have since decided to make a few changes to my bookish videos. First, just to go a bit more in depth about my books, what I've realised is first of all, I'm definitely not being consistent, one with posting, but also with my reviews and my wrap-ups and my recommendations. And I feel that although initially I started this just to be more accountable and build a community, I do feel that, well, with wanting to build a community, it just isn't really fair on you if you're watching these videos and if I'm giving you an in-depth review about one book and why I did like it, why I didn't like it, why I didn't finish it, whatever reason it is, and then the next book, if that's in that very same video, I'm just literally just saying I liked it, it was great, and that's about it. So I've decided I just want to give a bit more information. I was meant to do it in this video, and I'll be honest, the reason I didn't is because most of my reading, no, I lie, actually. I was going to say most of my reading was done on holiday, but for March, it wasn't. April. I'm confusing myself. You know what? I'm just going to get into it, but what I'll do, I'll just say this much, that I might keep it a bit brief this time as well, but I will most probably do a Q1 wrap up where I go over everything that I've read for the year so far in more detail. It won't be extreme detail because I don't want to make the video so long and bore you. However, I do feel that it's something that's lacking in my videos, so I do want to add that. So I think I will keep it brief this time around, and then I don't know if I'm going to do an April TBR because, like I said, we're already midway through April, and I don't know if there's any point to that, even though I've got the books that I want to read. I don't know what I'm trying to say. This video is very babbly, if that's even a word. It probably isn't. I know, I'm just going on, and I'm still getting over jet lag. We flew back, it's been almost a week. The time difference between here and Mexico. Oh, by the way, I just got back from holiday in Mexico and I had the most amazing time. The jet lag is it's affecting me a lot more than I thought it would. And the time difference, we've got a 6-hour time difference, but I don't know, it's been almost a week since we got back and I'm still struggling with sleeping. I think for the first 5 nights, I couldn't get to sleep until around 3 or 4 in the morning. And I had to be up early the next day because my children were back to school and I just had life to get on with. So it's not been easy, but that's why I'm probably just not making too much sense right now. So I do apologise, I'm sorry, I'm just going to get on with it. So the books I read in March, I read a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. 5 books in March. And I'm smiling because, yeah, I think the majority of them were really, really great books. So do I go into detail now? No, like I said, I'm sorry. You're probably thinking, what's the point of me watching this? I'll go into the books that I read. I'll tell you what I rated them. I might go into detail. You know what? Let's just get on with it. The first book that I read in March was Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. It's the first book in a series of 3 books. I actually purchased the second one without realizing that it was part of a trilogy. So I've got the second one, not yet read it. I read book 1 in March, book 2 I've got, and book 3. I'm sorry. I did warn you, I can't talk properly. Book 3 is due to come out sometime this year. I'm not too sure exactly when. So book 1, Dating Dr. Dill, we've got enemies to lovers trope, as well as a dash of fake dating. Is it a dash? I mean, yeah, fake dating as well. Enemies to love and fake dating. So in book 1, we follow Karina, who is a 30-year-old. She just turned 30. We meet her on her 30th birthday. A 30-year-old woman who has got a successful career in doing what she loves. She is looking for love, but she also has the added pressure from her family to get married because she's getting on. It's basically a very stereotypical olden Indian mindset. I don't think it's just Indian, to be honest. A very old school mindset. And yes, she's got pressure from her family because if she doesn't get married soon, then she stands to lose the home that she grew up in. And she does want to get married, but she wants to do it for love and not just for convenience. So we have Dr. Dill, Dr. Prem and Karina who meet. They hit it off as they meet, and then certain truths uncover and they become this kind of, there's this friction and tension. However, they do agree to fake date just out of convenience and to save them both from pressure from their family. And then the story develops and their relationship progresses as the story goes on. I don't want to spoil the book for you or the story, so I won't go into any more of it. I gave this book, I think I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was a nice read. It didn't blow me away. I did enjoy the book. I just didn't love it. There were bits in it that were actually, I did laugh out loud, so I do appreciate the comedy part of it. I just felt that the story, it didn't have me gripped. And for the characters, other than Karina, who I was really rooting for, there weren't really any of the, I didn't much like any of the other characters. Main male character, Dr. Prem, he was alright. I just found him a bit bland, to be honest. I was just like, there was nothing special about him for me anyway. And just felt him, yeah, just very flat. However, the other characters, her immediate family members, her grandma, her dad and her sister, I just did not care for much, simply because they seemed to not care much for her. I get the author was just trying to portray what the stereotypical old school Indian families were like, and actually I would say a lot still are. I felt very, very sorry for Karina. Part of me thought, why doesn't she just stick up for herself? I know that's easier said than done, especially around the people that you love. But yeah, the Auntie G's, some of them made me laugh. I don't know if there were maybe a bit too many of them. I didn't see the need for that many in the book. Maybe they'll make another appearance, as will her friends. She's got 2 best friends who were her cheerleaders, obviously. And I believe book 2 is based on one of her best friends. So I think book 3 will most likely be on the other best friend. It's nice for a light-hearted read, a nice palate cleanser. Check for trigger warnings. I should say that at the start of all my videos because unfortunately I don't always check for them. There is talk of bereavement and there's a lot of toxic behaviour in terms of boundaries and the families. I don't mean to offend anyone. I just want to say that there are a lot of people that don't see it as being toxic, but the way her family members treated her, I believe a lot of it was toxic. So I just want to let you know because, again, that might be something that's triggering for you. And the spice. I wasn't expecting spice in the book. I don't have a problem with it, but I just wasn't expecting it. So again, I just want to let you know, there's not a lot of it. There are a few scenes, but when you do get to those scenes, it gets very, very hot and spicy. So just a little warning there for you. And like I said, I gave it 3 stars and I'm looking forward to reading book number 2. The second book that I read in March was Powerless. And yes, I absolutely loved it. Believe the hype. It was just everything that I needed to just draw me back into fantasy. The first book that I read taking me back into fantasy after many, many years was Caraval. And I did really enjoy that. But that was more of a low stakes, very, I wouldn't say fluffy, but it was just an easy read and I really enjoyed that one as well. But Powerless, everything that I've read good, everything I've heard good about that book, just yes. I laughed, I giggled, I blushed, I stopped breathing at times. It was just everything that I wanted from a book. It was just there. I loved our main character Payden. She is just fierce, she is brave, she's fearless. Characters in this book, the plot, the storyline, this being a debut novel of Lauren Roberts, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for her, and I'm so grateful and appreciative that she has shared this story with us. And I just can't wait for Reckless, which is coming out, I believe, next month. And yes, I'm all for it. I cannot wait. And if you didn't guess from that, then yes, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, definitely. The next book I read in March was a mystery book. It is part of the Sally Lockhart Quartet, and I read book 3, which is The Tiger in the Well. I gave this book I'm still, I don't know, between a 3.5 and a 3.75. So this book focused quite a bit on socialism and war, and I think that's partly why I wasn't as much lured into it. But once it got going, I was hooked, to the hook where I was like, okay, forget everything else, forget anything else that I'm reading. I need to get through this book. I need to know what's going to happen. I just really enjoyed it. I don't know if I can really discuss so much of it because it's a continuation and it's a mystery. I don't know how to do this. How do I not give away too much about what happened in the previous books and then mention who's in this book or what's happening? I don't know. I think for this quartet, I might do a separate video for all 4 books and go into more detail. But for this, for The Tiger in the Well, yeah, a 3.5, I'd say, just because I don't usually give 0.25s and 0.75, so I don't know if I'll start with that, or maybe this book I will. I forgot to mention, this book is by Philip Pullman. I love his writing. I love the way his words are simplistic, but it builds such a vivid picture, and he just, you're hooked. You're hooked to his characters, to the story. You want to know what's happening. You're vouching for your heroines, and he writes about controversial topics, but in such an easy way, if that makes sense. There's probably a better way for me to word that, but I can't think of it right now. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I want to say 3.75, and I'm definitely looking forward to book number 4. I think I am ready to say goodbye to Sally. It's been a pleasure reading about her and her adventures. They have been great, but I'm ready to say goodbye, so I'm looking forward to reading the last book in the series. That brings us on to my book club of the month. Book club of the month? The book I read for my book club. I Need to Sleep. Anyway, last month for our book club, we read A Court of Thorns and Roses. Yes, I did enjoy the book. Did I love it? I can't say that I loved it. Don't hate me, don't come at me, I've got a very good reason. Now, first of all, I started reading ACOTAR straight after reading Powerless, and I think that was a wrong move. I didn't have anything to kind of just break them up, and so when it began, I was reading about Feyre, our female main character in ACOTAR. I'm picturing Payden from Powerless, so that really didn't help. Obviously, descriptions weren't exactly the same or anything, but I think because I just still had it fresh in my mind, that didn't help. But what also I think took away from it for me was, I think I discussed this in my previous video, but I was already aware of which retelling this story was of. This is not making sense in my head, so I'm sorry if it's not making sense to you. Basically, I was told that The Court of Thorns and Roses was a retelling of a certain other story, and because I already had that in my head, all the scenes and similarities and stuff, a lot of it I just pictured from the other story, which has been made into a movie. I'm not going to tell you which one because I don't think that's fair, and I don't want what happened to me to happen to you. If you do want to know, then I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find out. And you might want to know. One of my friends from the book club, she actually did want to know, and when I told her that I knew about book 2 as well and what that was based on, she wanted to know. She had guessed. She didn't know beforehand, but she had guessed what the story was similar to, and she didn't mind it. I think for me, if I had have guessed, it might have been different because I would have still been building up the picture from the book itself, whereas this was already implanted in my mind. I hope that makes sense. It may not, but that, for me, it did take away a lot from the book, simply because I had to keep reeling myself away from what was already pictured in my mind, trying to just focus on what Sarah J. Maas had written. And it's definitely not fair on her as author. It's not fair on me. I didn't want to know. But yeah, I still did enjoy it. I just think that had I not have known that, I would have probably loved the book. I also felt that it took a while for it to build for me. It was very slow paced. I feel the first 2/3, and then once we got to that final third, that's where it perked up for me. I also found the relationship, our main relationship between our female main character, male main character in the book, I found it a bit jolty, if that makes sense. It was just, I know they'd spent time together, but some of it was just, I don't know whether I missed bits in the book, or I didn't see a steady progress towards like their chemistry building, if that makes sense. But there were some scenes that I actually absolutely loved. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but there was one in particular which I thought was just, the way she had described it was absolutely delicious. But that main relationship, I didn't enjoy it as much as the other relationships, I think, in the book. So I think I did give it a 4 stars. The whole book, I would still stick to a 4-star. If I were to just say the last third of the book, I'd give it a 4.5. But overall, I think the book, it's a 4-star for me, I'm afraid. But that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree. You probably won't. Final book for March. It has my heart. It has my soul. It was everything for me. The House in the Cerulean Sea. I was not ready for this book. I did not know I needed it in my life until I read it. I listened to it. Listen to this book. If you have read it, I know you love it. There's no way you don't love this book. If you have read it, listen to it. Please listen to it. The reason I say that is because, first of all, the book itself, I know I would have loved it even if I just read the book. But the narrator, the way he brings these characters to life, the voices he gives each of these characters, oh my gosh. So our story starts with Linus, who is a caseworker, and he is sent to a children's home, orphanage. It's on a private island, and these children have special abilities. And I think that's all I'm going to say about it. But we follow Linus's journey with meeting these children. The best way I can describe this book is it's just a whimsical delight. It is just pure bliss. Every single one of the characters in this book was so endearing. I adored them all. These little lessons within the book, the story, they touch on so many truths, and just, it's pure joy. You have to read it. Do yourself a favor, read it. This book has inspired me to start a reading journal. It's because I want to have a reference of books like this that make me feel a certain way, so that if ever I want to feel that way, or if I want to recommend books like that to other people, then I've got a reference. And I want more from this book. I want more. I want more, and I don't want more, if that makes sense. I want more because it was just so delightful. But then at the same time, I was so happy with it. And when you're happy, should you be asking for more? I think there is a second book. Let me just double check. Apparently there is Somewhere Beyond the Sea. When did that come out? Sorry, I'm just going to check when it came out, because I haven't heard anything about it. It's a duology, I believe. Cerulean Chronicles. Book 2 of 2 is Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Ah, there we go. It's to be released in September. So yes, there is a book number 2. It's to be released in September. I cannot wait for it. 5 stars, utterly glorious. Do yourself a favor and read it. And if you have already read it, then let me know what you think of it. If you did not enjoy it as much as I did, then why? Just why? Tell me, let me know. So those are the 5 books. Did I go through 5? I think I went through 5. The 5 books that I read in March. Do I go through my April TBR right now? So here's a funny story. I took, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I took 7 books. 7 books on holiday. Why? I was there for 10 days. For some reason, I thought all I'd be doing is chilling out by the pool, soaking up the sun, just reading on the beach. I knew I wouldn't get through all 7, but I thought I'd probably get through a fair amount. I obviously forgot that I have a family that I went to spend time with on holiday. I literally did. I think I read most of the first book on the plane, and then read the second book on holiday and on the plane back. So 2 books in all that time that I had. For some reason, thought I would be able to read 7. Oh no, I thought I'd maybe get through 5, but either way, it didn't happen. Those books went on my TBR anyway, so I don't know why I felt the need to share that story with you. Sorry. April's TBR. Book 1 is from our book club. We chose to read The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. Because of the previous month, we decided on ACTA and it was fantasy. We decided that we'd go with something a bit more light-hearted. And for a comedy, I don't think any of us had read a Christina Lauren book before. And this one had got good reviews about it being funny, so we chose that. Book 2 was the book that I read on holiday, so I can officially say that although it's not a wrap-up video, I did read it, and that was Legendary, part 2 of the Caraval series. And I loved Caraval, the first book, so I was really looking forward to Legendary. Book 3 is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Book 4 is A Court of Mist and Fury, because I want to carry on with the series now. And what else have I got on here? I haven't narrowed it down. I got a few books which I discussed in my last video, which were because I picked them up from the library. A lot of spring reads, if that makes sense. So I was just going to pick up with whatever I fancied reading at that time. I'm just looking at these. Oh, The Tin Princess, actually. That's the 4th book in the Sally Lockhart quartet. Do I have any palette cleansers in there is what I'm trying to work out. I don't think I do. Oh, I know what I might do. One for April. Not that the weather right now is very spring-like. We have definitely got our typical April showers, and we go between, it's just typical British weather, so I don't know why. We go from cold and rain in the mornings to then sunshine to then hail to then just sunburn. But for spring, one of the books on my spring reading list is The Wind in the Willows, which I haven't read yet, and I really wanted to. I requested an illustrated version from the library, and I do believe it's coming, but I didn't realize it's an abridged one. I did want to read the full story, so I don't know if I'll read this or whether I'll get another full story and then read. I don't know. I might read this and then leave the unabridged version for another time. I'm waffling on. I need to sleep, and I've got a ton load of holiday laundry still to get through, which again I'm sure you didn't need to know. But anyway, if you've made it this far, then thank you very much. As always, I would love for you to subscribe. I will have more bookish videos coming soon, as I mentioned earlier, unless I've edited it out because I know I was waffling on a lot. But I did mention earlier that I wanted to change up my videos a bit more with regards to my wrap-ups and maybe even my TBRs, just give a bit more information, because for some reason I don't know why, I just assumed that that you would know about all the books that I've selected before me, and I do this with a lot of stuff with I think most people that I know, and it's not the right attitude to have, it's not the right mentality. So I would like to just be a bit more considerate in my future videos, give you a bit more detail but not ramble on too much like I'm doing right now. So expect better videos, hopefully you'll find them better, and more videos, and I think that's it for now. Thank you for watching, have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.